2014 at 9:07 a.m. and I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'll begin by introducing board members and I am Fran Spivey-Weber, Vice Chair of the State Water Resources Control Board, and Felicia is somewhere on the other side of the earth. So she will be back next time, and I will be gone. With me are my fellow colleagues. To my left is Board Member Dee Diadamo, and to my right, Board Members Tam Doduk, and to her right is Board Member Stephen Moore. Mr. Howard, would you introduce your staff?
Thank you. To my left, Chief Counsel Michael Lawfer. To my right, Karen Turgovich, Chief Deputy. John Bishop is on vacation as well. And assisting the board today are Janine Townsend and Courtney Davis.
Thank you. Emergency evacuation. We have a lot of people in the room today, a lot of people standing up. I think that's not allowed, but anyway. Please look around and identify the exit signs and that are closest to you, and in the event of a fire alarm, gather up your valuables and evacuate the room immediately. If you need assistance, there will be people to help you with that. We are to convene officially across catty corner across the street at Cesar Chavez Park, but of course you are also able to go wherever you wish, and then when we'll get the all clear sign over there and come back over here. Also would like to let you know that this meeting is being webcasted and recorded, so please speak into the microphone, and when you come up and identify yourself, put your phones and beepers and whatever on silent, so that there's no one is upset by hearing something and forget what they want to say. Next, we will have 3 presentations for Sustained Superior Accomplishments Award. This is a real joy for all of us, and so we'll start with Vicki Whitney, then Darren, and then Chris Kerrigan, Darren Polhamus and Chris Kerrigan. Vicki, you're first.
And as Vicki is coming up, if I might make a request of Tom Howard, one of the things that the Executive Officer of the Central Valley Regional Water Board includes in her Executive Officer report to the board is the identification and a short summary of the recipients of these awards. I think it'd be very helpful to have that in our Executive Director's report as well. So that's my request for next time.
I'll give you a verbal one for now. I'll write you one up if you want to. Good morning, Vice Chair Spivey-Weber and members of the board. My name is Victoria Whitney. I'm the Deputy Director for Water Quality. And it gives me great pleasure this morning to present the Sustained Superior Accomplishment Award to Rachel Tadlock, who is DWQ's Executive Assistant. Come on up, Rachel. So when I became Deputy Director of Water Rights in 2003, I inherited my Executive Assistant, who had previously been the board chair's executive assistant and the executive assistant for one of the legislature, and she was very competent, and I was very spoiled, and I thought all executive assistants were as good as she was. Plus, she scared people, so they pretty much, they had to get through her to get to me. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Then I went to DWQ, and since I've been in DWQ, I've had 4 executive assistants, 4 assistant division chiefs on the surface water branch, and 3 assistant division chiefs in the groundwater branch. That's been in 4 years. And I was beginning to feel like Murphy Brown. Some of you won't remember who Murphy Brown is, but some of you, that'll ring a bell. And Rachel, when I first came to DWQ, was one of our students. And we had a lot, we have 4 clerical staff for about 120 people in DWQ. And there were many days due to people being on various types of leaves, et cetera, that Rachel was the only person there. Rachel has a go-to attitude. When I got there, I wanted to put up a whiteboard, and Rachel found me a toolbox. Don't tell the building managers that I put holes in their wall. So Rachel's wonderful. Rachel has never left me stranded at an airport. Rachel has occasionally forgotten to send things to Janine, but Janine will forgive us, right, Janine? Thank you, Janine. So in addition to doing all the normal assistant functions like your assistants do, Rachel's also the liaison to the board's clerk, so she's responsible for sending up all of the agenda items from DWQ, and I think we have more than any other division, at least so far. She serves not just me, but she serves everybody in the division. So on behalf of the division, I want to offer my appreciation to Rachel, present her with this award, and my greatest thanks. Rachel's, she was studying to be a graphic artist, and so she always looks really nice, and she decorates her cube really nice. And so I also got her some flowers. Thank you. Go up and get a picture. Oh, no.
I saw somebody point. Take one more.
Congratulations, Rachel. Okay, so it's my turn. So I've been with the Division of Financial Assistance. I'm Darren Polhemus, the Deputy Director there since July 1. I previously served there about 8 years ago, and so I can take credit for a lot of the staff, but this particular one I can't. She came after I came, so I have to thank Barbara for her. Thank you, Barbara. Megan, why don't you come up here, because everybody's going to want to see you blush the fullest time we can make that happen. So Megan's like me, she blushes at these events, so you know, it's the curse of the fair hair, sorry. So, you know, the Division of Financial Assistance has a lot of excellent people, but occasionally someone really stands out. They stand out by taking extra initiative when you didn't expect it. You know, something's like done when you didn't even think to ask someone to do it. Megan's that person. You can send people into really controversial circumstances where you're sure they're going to come back with a bunch of complaints, but they don't. They actually end up with like congratulation letters and thank you for sending this person. That's Megan. And every time I've been in a meeting with her, she continues to smile. I'm going to figure out what her secret is sooner or later, but she never stops smiling, and that's probably one of the most traits that she has that she uses to her advantage when she's meeting in these difficult situations. It disarms everybody, and it's really a wonderful trait. But Megan's one of our crazy hard workers and is always getting stuff done. I think it's special that her nomination came from her peers in her management group as well as her staff who highly appreciate her. So that's just the mark of an exceptional person, and I'm really happy to present this to you today. Julie is going to come up and give you flowers, and Julie's been with you longer, so she might say a few things as well.
Thank you. So I'm Julie Rosardo, and I get the pleasure of supervising Megan. And I think one thing that's really stood out for me in the last few months has been with the transition of the drinking water program. We've had a lot of new people coming into the division. We've had a lot of needs for mentoring, and they're not necessarily people that Megan currently supervises. So there are a lot of senior staff, a lot of line level staff that have come over from the drinking water program, and without me even asking or seeing if there's a need for having some mentoring going on, Megan's already jumping in, introducing folks in the drinking water program to our processes, making sure they feel welcome, and so that's been a real pleasure. And really appreciate all the work that you do. Thank you, Megan.
I see that Senator Wolk has walked in the door. Should we, oh, there you are.
If you have your staff here, we could go ahead and move to that item that she's here for and take it out of order, if that's the board's pleasure.
Mr. Howard, will you please introduce item number 7?
Thank you. This is consideration of a resolution to authorize the Division of Financial Assistance to provide a Clean Water State Revolving Fund program financing for Woodland Davis Clean Water Agency Water Supply Water Quality Improvement Project. We have Christopher Stevens is here, as well as Wenelin Fua, who will be introducing the item.
Good morning, Vice Chair Spivey Weber and members of the board. My name is Wenelin Fua with the Division of Financial Assistance. This item requests the board's consideration to authorize the Deputy Director of the Division of Financial Assistance to provide Clean Water State Revolving Funds, or CWSRF, to the Woodland Davis Clean Water Agency. The agency is a joint powers authority formed in September 2009 by the cities of Davis and Woodland. The cities are located in Yolo County and are under the jurisdiction of the Central Valley Regional Water Quality Control Board. Each city operates its own wastewater collection systems and wastewater treatment plant. The cities are under time schedule orders, or TSOs, to meet the final effluent limits for selenium. Davis is required to achieve compliance by February 2015 and Woodland by September 2016. The project will enable the cities to comply with the TSOs. According to studies conducted, the selenium in the wastewater treatment plant's effluent comes from the groundwater. Both cities rely on groundwater as their source of drinking water, and this water eventually ends up in the city's wastewater treatment plant's discharges. The project will replace the city's current source of drinking water with higher quality surface water from the Sacramento River. The cities plan to supplement the surface water from the Sacramento River with groundwater when necessary to meet peak demands. The project brings multiple benefits not only to the cities of Davis and Woodland, but to the region as well, including the University of California, Davis. Like the two cities, UC Davis relies on groundwater as their source of drinking water. UC Davis has been very supportive in bringing surface water to the region and has been involved with the project-related activities since 1994. As of June this year, UC Davis officially signed a contract with the agency to participate in the project. By bringing surface water to the region, groundwater pumping by project participants will be reduced, thus protecting groundwater resources within Yolo County. The project will also improve drinking water quality and help meet existing and future drinking water supply needs in the region. The project includes construction of a new regional water treatment facility, or regional facility with a design capacity to deliver up to 30 million gallons per day from the Sacramento River. Woodland will be allocated 18 MGD and Davis 12 MGD. UC Davis will get 1.8 MGD from Davis's portion of the allocation. The project will also install raw water transmission pipelines to convey water from the Sacramento River intake to the regional facility. Finished water transmission pipelines from the regional facility to the joint Davis-UC Davis and to Woodland's water distribution systems. The agency had submitted a complete application to the Division of Financial Assistance as of December 18, 2013. During review of the application, however, the division determined that the project was not eligible for financing due to a prohibition in the Infrastructure Financing Act. On September 27, 2014, the governor signed Assembly Bill 1478, modifying the provisions of the act to allow SWRCB financing for the project. Staff recommends that the board approves the proposed resolution to authorize the Deputy Director of the Division of Financial Assistance to provide SWRCB program financing to the agency in the amount of $95,461,000 to implement the project. The division also recommends that eligibility of construction costs be retroactive to March 1st, 2014, when project construction started. No comments were received for today's board meeting, but I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
This is Ann Hartridge from the Office of Chief Counsel. Just a quick housekeeping note. The agency is a water wholesaler and as such falls within the exception to the board's emergency drought regs posted on the board's website. I take the blame for this. I had inadvertently inserted and failed to remove finding number 28 in the resolution, and I would propose that the board strike that.
Okay. Actually, I think my question would be directed to Ms. Hartridge. Could you provide a little bit more information about the modification to the Act per AB 1478, which allowed for us to consider the financing of this project?
I'd be happy to. AB 1478 modified Section 5956.10 of the Government Code. Previously, Section 5956.10 of the Government Code had contained a prohibition on the use of state funds for state projects. And it was unclear what the definition of a state project was. AB 1478 specifies that now, for the purposes of this section, a state project does not include a governmental agency project financed through the State Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund, which is the name of the Clean Water SRF, established pursuant to Section 13477 of the Water Code, or the Safe Drinking Water State Revolving Fund, established pursuant to Section 116760.30 of the Health and Safety Code. Now, this exception that I've just read to you is effective as of September 27th, 2014, and it becomes inoperative on December 31st, 2019, and is repealed the following day.
And what is the significance of that sunset date? Does that mean that the project needed to be completed? What is your, I guess, the legal interpretation of our implementation of this modification within the time frame that is provided?
Well, for the purposes of this project, it means that the board can fund this project. The financing agreement will be entered into well before 2019, and the expectation of the division is that disbursements on the project will be completed well before 2019.
So for other projects, it will be the same interpretation that the disbursement of funds for any potential future projects under these conditions, would have to be done by the sunset date.
Certainly, that would create a greater level of comfort to everyone involved. But I think that so long as a financing agreement was entered into prior to that date, the board would have the authority to use clean water state revolving funds or drinking water state revolving funds for that purpose.
Okay. And final question, you mentioned that this went into effect on
September 27th.
September 27th, and staff is proposing to retroactively apply.
March 1st.
Yes, explain that to me.
So the board adopted Clean Water State Revolving Fund policy envisions a series of approvals prior to the deputy director of the division authorizing financing for a project. And among those approvals, the supervising engineer, Mr. Stevens, signs off on a project application. As Ms. Fua indicated, the project application was deemed complete as of December 2013. A second approval is when the Office of Chief Counsel has completed review of the relevant eligibilities, statutory and regulatory eligibilities, and have worked out language with outside counsel. And because of the lack of clarity in the statute at the time, OCC was unable to give that go-ahead. And so had the statute previously been somewhat clearer, the project could have been funded last spring.
So the retroactive recommendation from staff is not inconsistent given that the modification to the statute became effective only recently.
That's correct.
Any other questions of staff? I have 5 cards in support, and I am positive that we will hear first from Senator Lois Wolk, and next Assemblywoman Yamada. The other 3 are certainly, I will call their names, and they're welcome to speak in support. But if you just want to say, I support this, that'll be fine too. Senator Wolk, thank you so much.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. It's really a pleasure to be here. This project was conceived back in 1994, and you know how easy it is to do these enormous water projects. So 20 years is like a blink of an eye. It was begun by the cities of Woodland and Davis and the University of California, Davis, and I'm very pleased that those are the 3 entities that are here today. I want to thank tremendously your staff, the legal and legislative staff, members of the board, all of you that worked on the issue of language, which is contained in AB 1478. Thank you for that. This is a project, I urge your support for this project, for this loan. This project is consistent with the water policy goals that I know that are important to the governor and to your board. I know that. The policy goals are, this is a tremendously, this is a win-win-win proposition. First of all, the City of Davis and Woodland and the university will reduce their dependence on groundwater. That's a good thing. It will improve the water quality, not only for the citizens of these communities, but ultimately for the water that flows into the delta, into the bypass and out to the delta. It is important to the citizens of this state that the rates that are charged, that the money that is being put forward by the voters, be used in the wisest and most effective way. And that is what this loan will allow. And I want to thank you again, your staffs and yourselves, for your foresight and for your assistance, and I look forward to an aye vote, and I ask for that aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblywoman?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Thank you. I'm Assemblymember Mariko Yamada, and it is my great privilege to also share in the representation that Senator Wolk so ably has carried forward for so many years, especially in the area of water policy. I am completing my 6 years in the Assembly as the senior member on the Assembly Water Parks and Wildlife Committee, so have certainly been part of all of the different discussions, you might say, that have occurred not only since I came to the legislature, but when I first moved to Davis in 1994 at the inception of this particular project. I think most of everything that has needed to be said has already been presented so ably by Senator Wolk. But I will say that all of us here are committed to ensuring a very safe, secure, and affordable water future. And this project has seen so many twists and turns, but always with an eye to collaboration and for the greater common good. So with that, I wish to also thank all of you and all of your staff. Very good and excellent staff report. Thank you for the recommendation of support. And I too urge your support today for this important step in this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I now have Bill Marble, followed by Craig Johns, followed by Sid England.
Thank you. My name's Bill Marble. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem of Woodland and Chairman of the Woodland Davis Clean Water Agency, and also Chairman of the Water Resources Association of Yolo County. I just want to emphasize a couple of additional things. First of all, this entire project not only improves drinking water and groundwater supplies, but also improves discharge and the wastewater, and that element is crucial to its to the application for this this loan from the State Water Resources Control Board. We're trying to do our part to make sure the water effluent that's going into the Sacramento River meets current standards. I'd also like to emphasize that this entire effort, which your staff has been involved in, whom I thank for their intense involvement with our staff, this entire effort is a foundational action of both the Yolo County IRWM and the West Side IRWM, which, as you know, is the current critical IRWM. And so we urge your support, and both the City of Woodland and the City of Davis and UCD and the Woodland Davis Clean Water Agency, which is the responsible entity here, urge your support of this action. Thank you.
Craig Johns, followed by Sid England.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of the board. My name is Craig Johns. I'm here today on behalf of PERC Water Resources Company. Some of you may know them or heard of them, but basically we're here today to support the action today because PERC is very involved in looking for opportunities in the DBOF area, and it would be remiss of me not to publicly recognize the efforts of Board Member Dodek as well as her staff and the Chief Counsel's office for the work that was done on AB 1478 in revising the Infrastructure Financing Act to make this possible. Unfortunately, we have a small window, 5 years. I'm not sure how many projects can actually make it through the pipeline in that time. And I was interested in the colloquy and the questions that Ms. Dodek was asking of staff earlier. I would urge and encourage the board to consider that eligibility follows the application being put in, not necessarily an agreement being signed. I know that's a detail that your lawyers can work out, but this is a great opportunity for communities all over the state, and particularly those in disadvantaged communities, to take advantage of the Infrastructure Financing Act to improve not only drinking water quality in their communities, but also upgrade and improve their wastewater treatment facilities as well to better the water and make better use of it in terms of higher recycled water quality. So I will sit down with that and just say thank you to the board, to the staff, and this is a great project, and PERC supports it massively. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to speak about the project. I'm Sid England. I'm Assistant Vice Chancellor for Environmental Stewardship and Sustainability at UC Davis. And I think this project lines up right with my title, Stewardship and Sustainability of the Environment. So the campus right now relies 100% on groundwater for our domestic water supply. This will give us 2 different supplies, higher quality. It'll help us with our discharge requirements over time as well. I think I'll just end with that and say we support this and we ask for your vote for it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion on this item?
Certainly, I will make motion for adoption of this item with the deletion of finding
Number 28.
number 28. And I also want to take the moment and add my thanks to those already expressed, to all the staff, all the legislative staff, legislative members, especially Senator Wolk, and Woodland Davis and their representatives for the collaborative effort on this issue. As Mr. John says, I think it opens a door for us to investigate the further development of design, build, operate projects, and I would certainly be interested in pursuing some of those. I think it does allow for a window of opportunity to see what promise there is, and especially in the drinking water, recycled water area, and look forward to exploring that avenue with all of you. So with that, I'll make the motion for approval.
I got a late card, I'm sorry, from the mayor of the city of Davis. You want to come up and throw your 2 cents in before?
Unless he's going to oppose it, I think my motion
Yeah.
will stand.
I just want to say thank you very much on behalf of the citizens of Davis to the board and the staff, and really appreciate it, and we're very much looking forward to this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And may I have the honor of seconding the motion? And in seconding it, I would like to, emphasize and thank the Honorable Senator Wolk and the Honorable Assembly Member Yamada for pointing out that this does fit closely with our policy goals. And, this project is an example of the Water Action Plan being implemented. It's been conceived for years. There are many projects like this around the state, but this is a portfolio enlargement. This is a path towards sustainability in one part of our important part of our state. And this is the type of project we want to encourage. And as Board Member Dodek points out, to get projects through, we have to wend our way through what can be a maze in terms of achieving financing for these projects. And that's action item number 10 in our water action plan. This deals with action item number 2, local water sustainability. And so this is closely tied with our policy goals as we move forward into the unknown, dealing with drought measures, creating more sustainability for our communities and water resources. So with that, I heartily offer a second to the motion.
Any other comment? No. All in favor with the deletion of finding number 28? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming over. It's really, it's an honor that you were here. Now, we're back to Chris Kerrigan and the final Sustained Superior Accomplishment Award.
Well, that's a tough act to follow, but we'll do our best. Good morning, honorable board members. As you know, I'm Chris Kerrigan. I'm the chief of the Office of Enforcement. I have to say I'm really happy to present this award today, the Sustained Superior Accomplishment Award, to Dylan Seidner at Office of Enforcement. Before I let Matt Beflaben, his supervisor, say a few words about his accomplishment, I want to let you know that I really feel that Dylan is an outstanding representative of the water boards on Cal EPA's Basic Inspector Academy panel. I've had compliments from US EPA and all the other BDOs about Dylan's outstanding work on that in the training academy. He's constantly striving to improve the curriculum and the quality of his presentation, and I'm being asked to lend him out to trainings constantly, and he's able to accommodate that and be a witness in enforcement cases, actually doing the inspections himself. So I want to say I'm just very proud and even somewhat humbled to present this award to such an exceptional young man, both of talent and character. Thank you. Matt?
Well, to give the full embarrassment to Dylan, he should come up here too. My name is Matthew Bufflaman. I'm the supervisor for the Special Investigations Unit for the Office of Enforcement. And it's my pleasure to help present this award. So Dylan has always had a really great reputation in water quality since he's been working at the water boards. If you know the word NERDLs and its relationship to water quality, large part that's from Dylan's work in that program. A few years ago, well, when I first started becoming a supervisor for the unit, the attorneys at Office of Enforcement have a really demanding reputation, and it's actually pretty well deserved. But it's always a nice moment for me when I hand a report from Dylan Snyder to our attorneys, and you can see how much they love reading his reports and the big sigh of relief, knowing that the evidence is well documented, the inspection report is written excellently, and all those great attributes. But as Chris mentioned before, I really wanted to focus on the main reason why Dylan's getting this Superior Accomplishment Award is that a couple years ago, the responsibility for being an instructor at the Basic Inspector Academy got transferred over to our unit. And Dylan was very enthusiastic, and he jumped right at the opportunity. And so his experience with his inspections work and the enthusiasm he brings to the Basic Inspector Academy really helps fulfill one of the strategic goals for the water boards, and that's having an effective and efficient, well-trained staff. And Dylan helps epitomize that effort greatly. So with our pleasure, it's a handing award.
We will now move on to the public forum. Are there any cards? Mr. Tim O'Laughlin.
Good morning. My name's Tim O'Laughlin, representing the San Joaquin Tributaries Authority. Under public comment, really quickly, realize the Water Quality Control Plan Phase 1 SED document is moving forward, that the State Board is looking to probably push that document out sometime early next year. One of the reasons I rise today to talk to you is a discussion items we've been having on and off for the last 3 years regarding the document and how we approach the document. What I'm going to propose today is something probably less than I would like, but more than probably what you want to do. So the question that we've always had with the SED is, should we have evidentiary hearings? And I understand the board doesn't want to get involved in evidentiary hearings with cross-examination, attorneys, doing their shtick for ad infinitum. That gets a little old. Conversely, I think we all recognize that on some level, workshops just don't work because there's no ability to test the efficacy of the statements that are being made by various parties. So I went back and thought about the issues and how we've done this in the past. And previously, on some items, the State Water Resources Control Board has held a informal roundtable discussions on certain subjects. And board members can attend, it has to be noticed, but at those sessions you don't have to have a court reporter, you don't have to do anything under penalty of perjury, but you can have a discussion with the knowledgeable people in the room talking about issues. And from my perspective moving forward into the coming SED, there's probably three main areas that we could focus on. One is an update of the fishery work that's been done since 2009 in 2011 to the present. There's been a great deal of work that's been sent out, studies have been done, and I think that would be a nice day to focus on what we know about how we deal with water and its impacts on the fishery. The second one would be is looking at how we're going to address the issue of climate change, water storage, and how that works. And then the final one has to do with what we're experiencing now, the drought. How do we deal with sequential dry years in California? What does that mean to storage? What does that mean to groundwater? And then the last one is groundwater. So kind of off to the side, with the recent legislation that's been passed, this board will ultimately be tasked with dealing with the groundwater issues if the local agencies are unable to deal with this issue. And so we have groundwater fitting in the context of how much water goes down the river for the fish, how much water do we need in carryover storage for dry year periods, how much are we going to apply in the area for crops and groundwater recharge, and how does this make an integrated sustainable watershed approach. So we would see 4 topics like that and 4 kind of roundtable discussions as something that we should look at trying to accomplish. I think it would be important that if we do this, that the State Water Resources Control Board first get their documents out on the street so we have a platform from which to base our discussion upon. But having said that, you could have 4 such informal roundtable discussions for a day. We've previously had these, and then we don't get into the problems where we don't really like the workshops and you don't like the evidentiary process, and we kind of fit a middle ground and people can sit and listen and ask questions in a roundtable discussion. So if somebody said something like, well, you know, New Melones doesn't have enough carryover storage, and then somebody could say, well, what about this, and ask a question, non-confrontational, but we could kind of start trying to tease out the wheat from the chaff. So that would be our proposal coming forward, and we look forward to seeing your document sometime early next year.
Thank you. Yes. Dee Dee.
So, what other processes was this device used in the past?
Well, actually, we did it back in 2006 when we were we were going through the original review of the Water Quality Control Plan we had, and Tom can correct me if I'm wrong or if my memory's fading. We had 2 or 3 workshops, and actually they were hosted by the State Water Resources Control Board, and we addressed certain topic items in that format. And the parties basically was in a room almost similar to this, slightly bigger, put all the chairs around in a circle and had a discussion item that was monitored by, actually I think you hired an outside person for that, but we don't need to do that. If you want to do that, it's great. And then there was an agenda, there were questions that were asked ahead of time, and people came prepared to address the questions that the board was most interested in hearing information about.
Have you talked with some of the other stakeholders that are involved in phase 1 discussions?
Well, the problem
about this
with
concept,
phase 1,
and
the problem
also
with phase 1 is we're the only ones in phase 1 right now.
Well, no.
If you want to include more people, we'd be happy.
Well, no, I'm
No, I'm
referring to the NGOs.
Oh, the NGOs. No, I have not, but I was going to try it out here first, and if the board and your staff is interested in exploring it, then I would go and talk to the NGOs and the regulatory communities as part of our settlement discussion process and bring it out to them and say, you know, is this a way that we can approach the issue at the state board? Here's some topics, here's some questions, here's some ideas. Is this a way that you'd like to proceed?
So I'll just say I've attended some of the SEP discussions and find that it's useful to have the main entities in the room and to hear dialogue. I've been pretty involved in this subject, and I find it challenging when I meet with individual stakeholders because oftentimes, or even staff, because oftentimes I wonder what somebody else is going to say. So I do like the idea of getting everyone in the room if the process could be confined to a set of questions that everyone agrees would be helpful to have a more robust dialogue. So maybe if you could talk with some of the NGOs and spend some time with staff, I'd be open to something along these lines.
Good morning, Mr. O'Loughlin.
Good morning.
Help me understand better your thinking with respect to this proposal in terms of what specifically is it meant to achieve, and how does it facilitate the board consideration and action on an updated water quality control plan?
Yes.
It just sounds to me like more dialoguing. And there's a time and a place for dialoguing, but given the critical conditions we find ourselves in, I'm most interested in dialogue that would actually lead to quick action and results.
I agree with that entirely.
So tell me how this proposal gets us there.
Well, here, and I'm guilty of this as well, so I might as well say it. I mean, a lot of times what I see occurring in a workshop setting is people setting out positions, and they're setting out statements, and a lot of the quote information I hear is not really so much information as it is policy or beliefs or ideas or concepts. And as you go forward in this process, I think it's very important to kind of get to the heart of the matter and find out what facts really exist out there and what exists on the ground and what you're dealing with in reality. And currently, I would say that the current process doesn't do that. And what I'm trying to get to is, I agree with you entirely that trying to get to something in a quick resolution matter works. But so let's go through the process as I envision it in my mind. You're going to come out with a water quality control plan SED document first time, probably sometime early next year. Normally what the State Water Resources Control Board has done in the past, not saying you're going to do it in the future, is you normally are going to give somewhere between 45 and 60 days to comment on that document. You're probably going to have 1 or 2 days of a workshop hearing where people can come in and throw comments at you. And then you're going to have comments come in, you're going to go dark, and then you're going to come back and have another hearing. What I propose, so this is my perspective if I was sitting in your chair, is to have people in front of you on an issue talk about what is trying to tease out the chaff from the wheat. And the reason I say that is on various issues, and I'll give you an example. So we have been talking for 20 some odd years about the pre-1914 water rights in the Delta, okay? I have. And we've brought lawsuits, we've had complaints in front of you. And until 2 weeks ago, and when Mr. Nomalini was in front of you, we had never gotten the straight scoop about pre-1914 water rights in the Delta. And I think Mr. Nomalini was very upfront and direct to you in saying that my statement that I've been making for 20 years is that they've been writing on those statement of uses pre-1914 water rights as a placeholder. Well, that's a huge jump in the knowledge in the base upon which you are going to be making your decisions. And so what I wanted to try to do is if we went back to the process, you issue your water quality control plan, we can start writing comments, but you're going to have a 3 to 6 month period. This is for you. This isn't for everybody else. For you to try to get to the facts that are going to be important to you in weighing and balancing these extremely difficult issues of competition between resources. Because now you're going to have groundwater here, and I'm not saying these are interrelated or different, but you got groundwater here. You're going to have fishery issues, water quality issues here. You're going to have water use, M&I use, and ag use. you're going to have storage issues, and then on top of the unknown science of climatology and drought and climate change, and then you're going to have to weigh and balance. And so what I want to try to do is in that time period from the time you release your document to the time that you actually vote on your document, that we try to give you the information in a format that you can use it to make those decisions. That's what I'm trying to do. It won't delay the process one iota. I hope.
Well, thank you for that further explanation. I think I will reserve judgment for now, but appreciate the proposal.
Thank you. Okay, so what I will do.
Actually, I appreciate the proposal too, and I do think it's an interesting threading between an evidentiary cross-examination approach, because people will be able to talk between each other, in addition to talking at us and us asking questions, and which is the normal workshop format, just us asking questions and getting responses back. So it is nuanced, but so from staff's perspective, when do you expect to get the SED out, and what are you hearing that is intriguing or not?
So our plans for the SED right now are winter. That's the time frame that we're targeting right now. It will not be before the end of this calendar year, but we're looking at potentially late January, more likely sometime in February right now. I think the idea of informal dialogue around the key issues is a very positive suggestion. I would just want to perhaps follow up and talk with all of you. As you remember, we held similar types of informal workshops about, has it been a year or 2 years ago now on phase 2? And they were facilitated workshops. We had a summary report that came out of those, and they were intended to be more fact-finding type of workshops. So I would also want to hear from all of you in terms of how did you perceive those workshops, and is that the type of situation that you would like to see more of, or something different?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I think we will definitely be looking into this, and you should be in touch with Karen.
I will, and so then to follow up, then I will, so I've heard a maybe, and based on the maybe, then I will go talk to the NGO and regulatory community about a format and about discussion items and points, and then I will get back together with Karen and talk to her about that, and then maybe we can work something up and bring it back to you at a later date.
Thank you
very much.
Have the board members been able to look at the minutes?
I have not. So if we're going to take action on it, I will need to abstain.
I think, why don't we just, we'll just postpone, pardon me, we'll just postpone action on the minutes until the next meeting. Okay, thank you. Board member reports.
If I might start, since I still have Mr. O'Loughlin in the room, I wanted to report on 2 items from the Central Valley Regional Water Board's recent meeting. The first one I especially wanted to mention in the presence of Mr. O'Loughlin, not to solicit feedback today, Mr. O'Loughlin, but perhaps we might have a further discussion. One of the items at the Central Valley Regional Water Board was a discussion or an informational item from staff on an update on a revised management agency agreement, MAA, between the Regional Water Board and the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation on development of a real-time salinity management program. This was based on a plan that the Regional Board adopted in, I think it was 2004, to control salinity and boron, salt and boron discharges, specifically from the Delta Minota Canal and areas within the purview of reclamation. And under this plan, the 2 options were to either meet a load allocation or to develop some kind of a coordinated arrangement. And so that's what the Regional Water Board and Reclamation has been doing. And with the studies and the efforts that they've done to date, they've concluded that a real-time management program was something that was viable and was their preferred alternative. And so they've put together a draft updated MAA along with a framework for this monitoring program that's been posted. They're soliciting comment on it. What seems to be missing is an actual work plan, which Reclamation is still working on, and I don't believe has been shared with anyone, well, anywhere externally yet. Mr. O'Loughlin is shaking his head. So the heads up is this is something that the regional board will hear again on in December. The expectation was that the regional board should have had all this information in October and would be able to act on it in October. Obviously, that's not going to be the case. So I just want to flag all of you to this action by the Central Valley Regional Water Board and Reclamation. And my request to Mr. O'Loughlin is I know you submitted comments on the draft, which I have not had a chance to read, but at some point I'd like to touch base with you, definitely before the December Central Valley Regional Water Board meeting. And then the other item, to end on a good note, that I wanted to mention from the Central Valley Regional Water Board meeting involved El Dorado County and another U.S. department, this time the Department of Agriculture and Forest Services. In 2009, the Central Valley Regional Water Board adopted a cleanup and abatement order directed at those two entities for the water quality impacts of the Rubicon Trail, which is an off-highway vehicle, recreational center. And the hearing at which the board considered that cleanup and abatement order was jam-packed with people in opposition, off-road vehicle users in opposition. But since then, and the board did adopt that cleanup and abatement order. And so the success story, and I forgot my props, but the success story at this recent Regional Water Board meeting was they all came in to demonstrate the partnership and collaboration that was formed, the actions that have been taken to actually address all these water quality issues. And it was like a love fest. I've never seen a love fest at the Central Valley Regional Water Board meeting before. So, it was worth reporting upon. And as a result, the regional board adopted a rescission of that cleanup abatement. They rescinded it, and I was extremely impressed, first by the strength of the collaboration and, more importantly, the results of those collaborations. So definitely a success story.
Well, thank you. These last couple of weeks, trying to keep busy. The first item I report on is the North Coast Regional Water Board. I attended their board meeting in Wairika, California. Took the opportunity to meet with a couple of ranchers up there that are trying innovative techniques to doing the irrigated pasture management with riparian restoration, which, as you know, I'm very interested in these kind of multi-objective projects, and the North Coast Water Board's real supportive of their efforts to comply with the TMDLs up there in the Shasta and Scott Rivers. But also on